What's up guys? So I'm making this video to help you with all of the kind of best practices around making and producing music, including getting over the pitfalls, making yourself as efficient as possible, getting over creative blocks and things like that. The first thing to consider is the music making process doesn't start when you sit down in the studio or at your computer. You want to be generating ideas away from there, so when you come to the studio you're prepared with some kind of intention or some idea of what you're going to do. One thing that I think can be really helpful is to create a playlist to get you into the right headspace for the type of music that you're making. Whether that's on Spotify or iTunes or whatever, just somewhere where you can listen to it away from the studio and get yourself into the headspace, understand how that type of music is put together, all of the little elements that are in there, and then when you hear things in there, make some notes if you get ideas. Like, it doesn't have to sort of emulate the music that you're listening to, but you might sort of like take little ideas and snippets. Maybe it's song structure, maybe it's the type of sounds that are used and things like that. So the next really important thing is just to make a note of any ideas that you have, whenever that may be. Sometimes I've had the best ideas for music in the middle of the night and I've had to quietly go and write them down on a bit of paper, or write them in my phone, or go away and just leave a little voice note with a kind of dum 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 dum, whatever it is that is easiest for you to be able to recall the ideas that you've got. Just make sure you write everything down. And then the next time you go into the studio, you can either turn that into a full track, or you can just make a note of that idea in terms of, writing the melody or whatever, and turn it into an actual piece of music, even if it's just a clip. And then you can save that for later for turning into a piece of proper music, into a track. So that ideas creating process should be happening constantly. It's not a case of like going in and creating your ideas ready for the next studio session. You should just be, any ideas that come to you, just write them down all the time. Keep listening to the sort of music that's inspiring you if you want to try and make something specific. And then at the same time, you want to be doing all of the prep so that when you actually come to the studio, the music creation process is easy, efficient and fun. And ways that you can do that is by sort of preparing all of the sounds to make it easier for you to find the things that you need. So let's say you've been listening to a playlist and you're going, okay, well, I'm going to make kind of new disco music, so I know that I need these types of snares and these types of claps. So then what you can do, generally people have got huge sample banks, or you've got everything that's available in Ableton, for example, or everything that's available in places like LoopCloud or Splice. So what you would do then is maybe spend half a day, maybe not even that long, but just go through and single out some relevant drums that make sense for the music that you're trying to make, and put them into some folders, very well organized. So you could have drums for blah blah blah, maybe it's the time of year that it is, December 25, or maybe it's for this particular type of music, like drums, new disco or something like that. And then within there, put in snares, claps, hats, and all of the other drums that you might need for that particular type of music that you're making, or whatever time of year it is, or period of your music making process. Whatever is relevant for the music that you're making at that point, put them into a folder. So you can do that with all the different musical elements. So if you're going to make music with vocals in there, try and find some vocals that you feel are relevant. If you are making music with synths and things like that, if you've got plugins, go through your favorite plugins and shortlist the presets that work for what you're trying to make, into these favorites folders. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can either save them in a favorites folder inside the preset banks in the synth, or you can save clips in your Ableton user library if you're using Ableton, and I'm sure there's similar ways to do that with other DAWs as well. So once you've got all your ideas written down and you've got all of your sounds prepped, now you can go into the studio and start working on your ideas. And one of the ways to really streamline this is to have a pre-made template. So I've got a deeper dive on how to set up a template on newsletter number 4, I think it is. Yeah, so if you go back to the video on newsletter 4, then there's a deep dive on templates there. But if you have a template, it's kind of like walking into a studio and the sound engineer has set everything up, turned it on, and all you need to do is pick up your instruments and play. So all of the mixing stuff's done for you, all of the tracks are laid out in the correct order. All you need to do is plug in your sounds and start to write music. So there's kind of 2 modes of creating music. There's the writing and the editing, and the 2 should be treated in a different way. So when you write music, it's all about allowing creative flow to come through you. Don't put any pressure on anything. Just remember, you're there to have fun and come up with something cool, fun ideas. So it should be free, loose. It should come from your soul. Don't overthink it. Don't even think it. Try not to think at all. And just think about having fun, using the ideas you've got and coming up with something cool. It doesn't matter if the track that you come up with is 15 minutes long. Map some parameters to MIDI controls and try and add a little bit of human touch to things, make it sound fun. And then once you've got like a good recording of musical ideas down there, then you can switch modes into editing mode, and that's where you're using your head and not your soul, and thinking, is this track too long or too short? Is the mix okay? Which parts of this like creative part, this recording, do I want to include in the track? Do I need reference tracks to kind of get the track sat right sonically, or to get the sort of the structure of the track correctly? Is it like a DJ friendly track that needs an intro and an outro? So all of that sort of stuff can be done in the edit, and everything can be fine-tuned. You can be a little bit more critical, and this is kind of done much more with the head rather than just sort of letting it come freely out of your soul. So I'm sure, like me, you guys have been there where you just sit down and you draw a blank and you can't come up with the ideas. And what I was saying earlier about trying to get your ideas down away from the studio massively can help with this, because if you've got a list of ideas that you can then go and action when you get into the studio, then creative block isn't really an issue. But sometimes even maybe it's not about necessarily not being able to come up with the idea, but maybe you're just not in the mood that day. When you sat down in the studio, you've allocated a bit of time where you can write some music and it's just not happening. So in that situation, different options. So you can either go sound shopping. So maybe, if you're using Loop Cloud or Splice, go and try and find some new sounds that are interesting. Take the pressure off yourself. Just all you've got to do is say, do I like that or do I not like that? And does it fit with what I'm doing? And then you can put things into these favorites folders that I talked about. You can do the same with synths and things like that. So you can go and find your new sounds. Or you can do things like making small parts of tracks. So maybe you could say, go and find a vocal and you could chop it up and make something cool out of it. Or maybe you just want to write 20 bass lines or 5 bass lines or something like that. Or just look for some bass line presets and save those and then write a couple of bass lines out of them or something like that. Maybe in your playlist there is a particular sound or technique or something that you don't understand how to do, and you would like to be able to implement that in your music and learn how to do it. So maybe you could do that. Maybe you can look up tutorials on YouTube or just try and work it out for yourself. So if you get to the stage where you're just not feeling sitting down and writing the music, do something else, and more often than not, the creative block will go, you'll get an idea and you'll return to the music and come back to it. But even if you don't worry, just do something else that's kind of helping the music making process in other ways. So in the same way that a lot of the creative ideas come away from the studio, when you're in the process of working on a track or a series of tracks, then what happens away from the studio is equally as important. So for example, maybe I'm working on 1 or 2 tracks at the same time. I'll get them up to whatever stage I get them to during a studio session, then I'll bounce them down and then put them onto somewhere that I can listen to them away from the studio, you know, whether that's your phone or MP3 player or whatever you use. And then get away from the studio, listen to the tracks a few times and make notes. So maybe they're in the early stages and, you know, that's kind of like more creative ideas, or maybe it's things that need adjusting. And then the next time you come back to the studio, you then come back to the tracks, open them up, finish those, implement those ideas that you've written down away from the studio, and then if you've got time, work on it a little bit more. And then that will be the case sort of continually until you're happy with them from the studio setting where you're listening to them and they're as good as you can get them. And then from there, you know, really the only way to sort of improve is to, you know, play them out if you can, or have a mix with them on your home decks if that's the setup you've got, or just listen to them against other reference tracks to see if they then need any further work. I hope those tips and tricks and practices were useful for you. If you would like to have any of those tailored for you, or dive a little bit deeper into how that all works, then feel free to hit me up.